I forgot to start with the blank slide. I'm sorry, the production quality's already going downhill.
What's happening right
Welcome,
now?
welcome, one and all, to the season finale of the JC Penny podcast, season 15. I'm your host, Sean Fitzgerald. With me are the league's finalists, the proxy for NoVa, Brad Putman, with the sweet Rip Jason sign in the background for his fallen NoVa brother. And representing my home state of Maryland, the man, the true king of the North, Scott Harlow.
Oh my God.
So we're going to get into it. We're going to recap what were some great semifinal matches. Brad finally vanquishing Zach at long last, as he always dreamed. Scott continuing his run of dominance in his rookie season.
His what?
And we are gonna. If he wins, it's the best rookie season of all time. And after all that, we are gonna also talk about what I think personally was the wildest TPOP final.
Oh my God.
Of all
It
time.
was pretty incredible.
So good.
It was just unbelievable to watch the back and forth. You rarely see a game that hotly contested that late. So it was sweet for those of us watching in the chat. And yeah, it's gonna be great. So final countdown, boys. We got 3 matches to recap and 2 to predict. So it'll be a shorter pod, but a good pod. With all that said,
Did you flip my screen? That was clever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm also looking at myself backwards and it's fucking in my head, but
so,
I'll deal. You're clearly favoring Scotty already. You're throwing me off. It's okay.
That's what I'm here for.
I also want to get into that. I'm not from Maryland. I don't claim Maryland as my state.
No, Maryland has claimed you. You don't understand. You don't have your compliance.
You are
is
their
not
best
a
bad
factor.
option.
I feel like I'm Sean's like you're
don't understand,
you're a Marylander now.
Scotty, we're gonna win. We won.
I feel like you're just trying to.
I can't wait for Scotty to win. And it's
Sean, you're just trying to tie
and
yourself to
Sean.
my glory. You can't have any part of it. This is mine.
Listen, if you beat NoVa, you can have it all. You can have your name on that trophy.
All right.
Speaking of Scotty's again continued dominance, he wasn't as dominant in this matchup. Both Brad and Zach would have advanced if they had played either of the other 2 semifinalists, but in the 3rd versus 4th highest score of the semifinalists, Scotty gets a much-needed win with some cues. He survives.
Yeah.
So, Scotty, how you feeling?
Not great. My team is very hurt. Starting a lot of randos. Had to last minute drop Dallas Goddard to pick up Gainwell, which I guess I didn't actually have to, but ended up happening. And yeah, team's not great right now. Bad timing.
Are you worried about losing Goddard?
Yeah, I would rather have Goddard on my roster for sure.
I'll be curious to see who, if anyone. I mean, obviously, there's no one. There's only 4 teams that should, in good conscience, be making ad drops at this point of the year.
Yeah, but there's also 6 people who want to watch the world burn. So
that's what I'm saying. Well, I wonder if Jason's going to throw the rest of his budget out at Dallas
I'm
Goddard.
pretty sure
Brad has more budget than I do right now.
So I looked it up and I was like, I'm pretty sure I can outbid Scotty for whatever I want. But I don't have the top in the league, so let me pull it up right now. So Zach has 500, James has 600. I don't think James pays attention, but
James and Zach wouldn't do me like that.
No, it's
they
just
would do
Jason
you like
Smith.
that.
They would do you
Smith.
like that. But not
Jason Smith, if Jason Smith has more money,
he does not.
Scotty.
He has 0. Jason has 0.
Okay, you're fine there.
So I have an interesting question to pose to Scotty. This is not a loaded question. I'm genuinely curious. Sean, if you can pull up the bracket to show where we're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things we've been talking about offline is adding a little more. Sorry, my background's going in and out. Whatever, it says Rip Jason. One of the things we've been talking about offline is to add a little more advantage for the seating, because seeding really doesn't mean much for a couple of reasons. The main one being that we do our very fair, in my opinion, wild card setup where the highest point getter for the non-top 5 record-based teams makes it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And what that often means is that number 6 seed is often a very good team who just got unlucky with the schedule. So one of the things we've been talking about is how much sense does it make to maybe give the 3 seed, the best team without a bye, their choice of opponents, and giving the 1 seed their choice of the side of the bracket based on that. So based on that, I can honestly say that, like, not knowing what happened the last 2 weeks, the way Jason and both Jasons were playing, I definitely would have chosen James. So I'm curious, out of a matchup between me and James, and then a matchup between the Jasons, which bracket side would you have chosen, Scotty?
Well, hold on. So really quick, I don't know, and just to be clear about how I feel about this rule, this potential rule change we're talking about, I don't know that I would be okay with the 3 being able to pick the 4, right? I feel like that might be a little bit of a bridge too far. Like, the 4 has also earned a spot based on record.
So you're saying between the 5 and the 6?
I'm saying, yeah, the 3 gets to choose whether they'd rather play the 5 or the wild card.
Correct. Okay.
Just to give it that way, of the bottom 2 teams in the standings, technically speaking, you get to pick your poison. And then the 4 gets whoever doesn't get selected. Because typically what will happen is it gives you the option, if you really want to beat the wild card, you can. If not, you take the 5 seed, which is typically a weaker team on total points scored, and you put the wild card against the 4 seed, which is really, maybe who it should be playing. You know what I mean?
You're saying Brad would have been able to choose.
So in my universe, if Brad had picked what will likely be the more common pick, he would have picked Jason Smith.
One of the Jasons.
Right. Yeah. And then, he could have picked either of Jason. I don't know who he would have picked, honestly, because I would have picked McMillan over Jason Smith this year.
Yeah, I would have.
I don't think I would have. Like, guys, you guys have been really in love with Jason Smith's team. I think Jason McMillan really has better highs and lower lows.
I'll freely concede, now that he's dead, that, like, the reason I talked so much shit about Jason Smith's team throughout and wanted him to lose is because he objectively had what I thought was one of the best teams I could remember in recent memory. I just thought he was way too good.
Bad team.
Jason had an objectively fantastic team. The last 2 years,
he had a good team. He had a very good team, but, like, his quarterbacks weren't, like, insane quarterbacks. His running backs were, like, really good, but not, like, it's not like he had McCaffrey or something.
McCaffrey's also a game breaker. The fact that 58% of teams in the finals have McCaffrey.
Zach.
Yeah.
But no, so I would. But what's funny is, even in that situation, it wouldn't have mattered for you, Brad. You were destined to be in the final. You were the #1 point scorer the last 2 weeks.
No, sure. So I'm just curious as to. So let's say I chose Jason Smith. Scotty, would you have chosen the winner of me versus Jason Smith or James versus McMillan?
Well, I would have picked the winner if there was a James versus McMillan matchup. I probably would have picked the winner of that matchup. But this is why I don't like that system, because I feel like I'm gonna get fucked. Like, I'm gonna pick one. And then
to be clear, is the potential rule that I wasn't contemplating the 1 seed being part of the selection process, but if the 1 seed is selecting their opponent,
their side of the bracket,
is it they pick their side of the bracket? Okay,
yeah,
side. I can maybe wrap my head around that.
You can't wait for the semifinal.
Yeah, exactly. But I can kind of wrap my head around that, where you pick a side of the bracket that you want. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so this is kind of gone off the rails. I was just curious. It's an interesting thought experiment. Obviously, it's a little dangerous to do after the fact, because it sounds like I'm trying to say, like, Scotty, would you have chosen Jason Smith to play or not? That's not what I mean. I'm just curious, because
I honestly, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have picked whoever was the lower seed, but I don't know. That's why I don't like it. I just feel like I'm gonna get bit in the ass.
That's what's great about it. That's why we do it.
What do you think we're doing here?
I'm gonna leave my fate in the hands of whoever's making fate happen.
I mean, I think we would have reasonable defaults, right? So it sounds like 3 and 4 are always going to be not against each other. So it would be, the default would be that you would get the winner of the 4, whoever they're playing, as the 1 seed.
Right.
So like in this universe, you're never obligated to make the switch if you don't want to.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
trolley problem of like,
But the fact that the power is put in your
yeah,
hands means you did make a choice, whereas
exactly.
before I wouldn't have.
Right. It's great.
Now
So
just
yeah,
get
it's
that
something to think
balance in
about.
your
Something to think
head
about
as
for
you're
next
making your
year.
selections this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but Scotty, back to your matchup, you definitely oh whoops, let me pull it back up. I mean, you definitely survived thanks to I
What a
feel
stupid game.
well what was interesting is, I think who was it? Addison had like what did he have, like 26 or
Point
something like
7.
that? 26
Oh,
last
the week
week.
before, yeah.
And then he and came through big for Jason Smith, and then he puts up 0.7, and that was obviously the biggest downer. I mean, ETN was a huge disappointment. Tommy DeVito putting up less than 3, obviously.
He got pulled halfway through the game.
Yeah. But his quarterbacks together put up like 17.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
whereas
he's been getting away with murder for his quarterbacks all season because
Yeah.
went late for quarterbacks. His number one QB out of the draft was Kirk Cousins, who was a very serviceable, like
Yeah, he was
lower
doing
tier
well.
QB1, high tier QB2. And then between Goff and Stroud, he was kind of treading water there for a while. And once Cousins went out, like I just don't think you can rely on Goff and Stroud week in and week out, especially because one of them get injured. The Tommy DeVito story was fun, but like let's be honest.
Yeah, I think he could have.
Double digits at him every week.
I would have picked up some. Like, I know the Eagles' defense is weak to QBs, but like,
But as you said, I mean, the man has survived 2 season-ending injuries or not season-ending, sorry, 2 major injuries to quarterbacks in the form of Cousins and Stroud, right? Like, he lost who was his golden ticket right at the time he needed him most. If he has C.J. Stroud healthy, this matchup could easily be different.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're talking 30 points.
yeah, I don't know.
Tricky. But I will say, like, I also think that's a testament to some of the rule changes we made, adding another wide receiver slot to balance out the power of the super flex.
Yeah,
Because
true.
otherwise, if you don't have 2 dominant because the last time we did this, the QBs were everything. And if you didn't have 2 QB1s, you weren't going to win.
Yeah.
And this gives other avenues to kind of balance things out a little bit. And I think it's worked out really well.
I think the roster construction is excellent in this league, honestly. So
yeah, no, that's well done, guys. But yeah, it's a shame for Jason Smith. He will still play in the 3rd place game, which we'll predict later with Zach. But moving to the other semifinal matchup, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about with Scotty and Jason Smith.
Jason just didn't have it this week. He knows it.
He had a bad week. I also had a bad week, but it wasn't as bad.
Well, on to the good weeks. Zach putting up 132 and a loss. Brad, take me through how you're feeling.
He almost did it again. Like, we sat through this last week, and I was like, look, I'm not going to shit on Zach's team. It's a very above average team. He could easily win this week. But I just really like my matchups, and I don't see how he gets lucky to overpower me. And then Amari fucking Cooper. It wasn't even just touchdowns. He just kept catching 50-yard passes. He had 20 at halftime, and I'm like, okay, well, he's probably done, right? Because first of all, the Browns are up big. Second of all, these are low percentage plays. There's no way he just keeps it going. And it's just like, that's another 2 points. That's another 2 points. I mean, look, it's 16 points. It should not have been that close. And then Brock Purdy didn't have a great game. He's going against one of the best defenses in the league. Sounds like he was dealing with a stinger there as well. Wouldn't have started him if it was within 5 points, just to, like, barring recalcs. But 13, I was like, there's no way he goes negative 13. But this was closer than it should have been.
If you told me going into this matchup that your 2 super flexes would combine for less than 1 point, I would not have believed you. But yet here we are. And Amari Cooper, 46, you're right. It is a historic day. It was one of the, again, so if someone wants to go do research, who's in the chat, I don't know that we've had a bigger performance out of anybody this year, have we?
I think CMC has been close.
Yeah, I think 46 is big. I think I know Tyreek had around 40 one time, and McCaffrey got low 40s.
Tyreek's biggest performance was week 1. He had 39, and McCaffrey, I'm going to look up now. had
Oh, what about Achan?
40.
What did he have that 1 week?
45.2 for McCaffrey is his record. Achan was Windows, and Achan had 49.3.
Yeah.
Never mind, it was
Yeah.
Devon Achan was the hero. But still
Not started that week, by the way.
an unbelievable on the bench, a 49 spot on the bench. No, an unbelievable performance for Amari Cooper kept Zach in this game. But you just had too much consistent firepower across the board.
Can I tell a quick 30 seconds about a different league I'm in?
Sure.
I was the #1 seed. My team was very dominant. I had to make a decision for my wide receiver 3 between Jordan Addison and Amari Cooper.
Oh.
Can you guess which one I chose, and can you guess what the result was?
I think by that explanation we know the answer.
I lost by like 20 points or something like that, and I mean that's 45.5 right there.
That hurts.
Insane week by Amari Cooper. There's always somebody who breaks it wide open. McCaffrey was actually pretty tame this week. I'm curious to see in most weeks, not in our league, obviously, if he's the one who wins people a bunch of championships. I remember I had Jamar Chase in the championship game a couple of years ago in a different league, and he put up like 45. But there's always somebody who's just a game breaker, and I'm very curious out of mine and Scotty's lineups that we'll get to in a little bit, who can be that person? Because I feel like it's not going to be a thing of like, oh, 3-4 touchdowns here, a bunch of yards here. It's like who got 40, and then, like that's just gonna be the winner.
I mean, what's funny is you. So let me actually. I didn't have this pulled up, but I can certainly do it. There was an image that I had sent in the group chat, and I've got it up on the screen right now. That was the. Although it's kind of cut off. Let me see if I can save it and.
Oh yeah, I had no idea what that was.
So I'll work on displaying it. Give me a second here.
Maybe don't put your entire chat.
All right, let's see.
Oh.
Hold on. Working on getting it.
Is this the percent that they were in like the championship roster or something?
Championship teams with one of these players.
Yeah. Correct. I've just got it up right now. I'm gonna work on getting it so that everyone can see it front and center. So this is a sorry about the graphic on the fly. I'd forgotten about that I had this, but it's worth at least looking at. So this is the percentage of teams in the finals in their fantasy football leagues. The percentage of teams that made the championship that have these players. So of the teams that made the finals, Christian McCaffrey on nearly 60% of those teams. The next highest two on Brad's team, Kyren Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Below that, CeeDee Lamb, who I think is Jason Smith. Sam Laporta, who's got him?
I want to say Window. Window had two
and Puka.
Really good pickups between Laporta and Puka.
But you go further down that list, you see Josh Allen's on that list. You see Jahmyr Gibbs is on that list. The Scotty's first player on the list, 30.5%, is Tyreek Hill. And so I just think it's telling that there's so many of Brad's players before you even get to the first of Scotty's players. There's a reason Brad has right now been #1 in scoring throughout the playoffs. So before we get into your prediction, though, anything else we want to talk about with your matchup with Zach, Brad, Scotty, anything?
Uh-huh.
So before
Jefferson's going to go off this week. It's not going to matter, but
there was one other thing I wanted to say is that one of the biggest mistakes Zach made, I think, was starting Sam Howell against the Jets. That is something. But I think that's a really rough matchup for Howell going into that. I think I would have picked up Aiden. What's his name from the
O'Connell
from the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the other thing though, like it's not a 2 QB league; it's a super flex, and I can tell you right now, Purdy is still questionable with the stinger. Shanahan says he's probably going to play, but in the off chance Purdy doesn't play, I'm probably not starting a quarterback in my super flex. Like whatever scrap there is on the waiver wire right now, or Sam Howell, I do think that was a huge missed opportunity.
Of course,
Aaron
O'Connell
Jones
only got 2
appreciate
points,
it.
so I would have been.
Ironically, had he completely gone away from the Commanders, right? He instead starts the Bucs defense against Jacksonville over the Commanders defense against the Jets. I'm not saying he should have done that, but I'm saying if he had done that, obviously, and started basically any quarterback on the waiver wire, or really, any other player at the Superflex, he wins this week.
Well, he didn't. So
It
fucked that.
Tough beat.
So
sorry, your luck has its limits. He'll probably be in the finals again next year.
So speaking of unlucky, we got to talk about the TPOP final. What a finish.
First of all, we were all lucky to be alive during the time of that epic matchup. There was no unluckiness there. I am so happy that I stayed up for that game.
I feel bad in a sense because I said yeah, I just want to see Ayuk gets a catch or something just to make it close, get it within a touchdown so that way there's some sweat at the end. And then it went into the back and forth mode.
Yeah, Jerry was 20-30% all day on Monday, and I had no idea why. He was down 3 or 4 points. Hurts was basically done because the Eagles had already run away with that game. I know it ended up being a little closer, but that the Eagles were just burning the clock, so Hurts wasn't going to put up another 15 points in the fourth quarter. And then we're talking about Ayuk versus Kittle with a 4-point edge. That's one touchdown. That's one big play. And Kittle literally had that big play in the beginning of the game. So I expected this to be very close. I did not expect the lead to change hands 5 times in the final 2 minutes. That was awesome.
That was absolutely insane. It was just so just to give everybody the recap. Alex had was it Alex had the lead by 3.5 going into the final matchup. It was George Kittle versus Brandon Ayuk with Alex leading by 3.5 points.
Yes, and then their projections were +3 for Alex. So Ayuk was 20 yards, had 20 yards over Kittle in the projection. So 3-point head start, 2-point projection advantage. So very close.
So the bottom line though is Kittle at the very beginning of the game had what was it 2 catches for 70 some yards I think or something Kittle was way up early. And so I think Jerry was up by somewhere around 8-ish points at one point going into the late third quarter. And it just felt like it was kind of, it was Jerry's game. And then, I start saying, oh, yeah, I'd like for it to be within a touchdown at least. And then Ayuk comes right back. Alex takes the lead. Kittle gets a catch, which gives Jerry the slight lead again. I don't know if Alex took it again one more. I know he at least took it one more time, but I think that was the last time Jerry had the lead was when he had a slight lead. And then Ayuk had a 20-yard catch that put the 49ers in the red zone. And it basically at that point was it needed to be a Kittle touchdown or else Jerry was getting the TPOP. And it was, I think, there was one play where, I think it was maybe a third down. I can't remember the down, but I know Ayuk was targeted in the end zone. Pass interference. First and goal at the 1-yard line. They try to run it in, fail twice. There was some kind of a penalty. I think it was maybe a sack and then a penalty. So it's 4th and goal at the 13-ish yard line, 13 to 15 yard line, and Kittle is targeted in the end zone, but it's an absolute duck of a pass that gets caught by, intercepted. Game is over at that point. I think the Ravens ran for 1 first down and then kneeled the ball out, and that was it. And that's how the game was decided. Just an unbelievable, the closest ending it's rare that you see a T-pop or any big match come down to the last play of the game. And I sympathize losing that game because that's how I lost my championship last year on the very last play of the game.
And it's tough when you think about how much Brock Purdy was targeting George Kittle. and then he got re-aggravated, and then Shanahan didn't want to put him back in for an injury. So who was it? The Ghosts, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts.
Seeing ghosts out there.
And then he just felt like targeting Ayuk instead of Kittle. So it's those things that, like, there's no way you can predict that. And it was a really I've also been on the losing end of those, and it's a lot more fun from the outside looking in.
Oh, it's so, like, I mean, you guys remember when you were in the party with me when I'm just praying for Nick Chubb to get the handoff to run the ball in the end zone so I can win a title, and instead it's a play action pass and Baker Mayfield throws a touchdown pass and that's the game, and I basically just signed off of Xbox immediately, went to bed angry, couldn't sleep. Like, yeah, like, that happens. It's the worst. But I will take some credit for this, by the way, because I traded Alex T. Higgins. So I do have some responsibility for this. But yeah, here we are. And let me ask this. Was there anything? Oh, it was Gabe Davis was 21 on his bench too. I don't know. Scotty, what are your thoughts?
That was really fun to watch. I think you guys covered most of it, but it was. I was more stressed over my matchup at the time, and I was busy like venting into the group chat a little bit. So I was kind of selfishly inwardly focused during the match, and then I was driving home, so I wasn't actually watching the game. But yeah.
Well, don't worry. Neither was Alex, because I could tell he wasn't following the chat at all. And
then he woke up the next morning,
and you see that GIF of like Joe Biden saying, "This is a day of relief and joy," or something like that.
Yeah. that was pretty cool.
Oh, well, so Jerry is our TPOP, and will be the first player to make an informed decision of waffles or SAT, because he is the only person who's done both so far, and will be doing it again.
He's gonna collect them all.
Well, and what's crazy is, so I said this to Brad, I said this in the chat the other day, so I think between Jerry and Jason Smith, they account for 7 out of our 15 T-Pops, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And I'm pretty sure... Let me actually, really quick, I just want to look at our league history before we go into the predictions. It's... The T-Pops have been Brad, Jerry, Jason Smith, Jason McMillan, Daryl, Nick, James Waller, and Taylor Horn. So, of the active guys in the league, I'm trying to think of who hasn't won the T-Pop. There are several guys I think who haven't won it. I don't think Alex hasn't won it yet. I haven't won it yet.
Zach and Window.
Zach hasn't. Window hasn't.
Has Window not?
Well, he's only been in the league a couple of years. So.
Scotty obviously hasn't. So at least half the league has not won the T-Pop yet. Keyword being yet.
A lot of fun. You guys should try it.
Okay. No thanks. So that leaves... let's start with the third place match. The chance to win $100 and win your buy-in back and not lose money on this. The season, it's a dead heat projection right now. I don't know if this will be their final lineups, but right now the projection is Jason Smith by 3.6. CJ Stroud still questionable and on Jason's bench. That's the only change I could really foresee here from Jason.
I mean, Jason's gonna add a quarterback because Tommy DeVito is not projected to start, apparently.
Probably Bryce Young, maybe, or who else is in the waiver wire?
He'll have another at least
Mason
10
Rudolph.
points in the projection there.
Tyrod didn't look terrible, and he has the money to get him.
But the Eagles can make a lot of bad quarterbacks look good.
Interestingly, and there might be quarterbacks out on the waiver wire because Zach also with Sam Howell, I can't imagine that he starts at any point the rest of this year, right? So
yeah. Essentially, you're not starting Sam Howell against San Francisco anyways. So.
Nor are you starting Drew Lock, who is on the bench. So Zach could stand getting 2 new quarterbacks just for the hell of it, and would also be taking away from Jason Smith if he does it. So there might be a betting war on quarterbacks on the waiver wire, despite this being championship week.
Yeah, Zach's also going to switch out his defense, most likely.
I would think. He might just start the Bucs against New
Orleans. Yeah, this
though.
Projection is probably completely off. So
yeah. Yep. No, agreed.
But I think I would take. I'll take Jason's team. I think.
Is this, by the way, one segue really quick? Is this proof that jinxes are real? Jason
Um,
Smith names his team after the Cutlets, and Cutlets betrays him in the semifinals. I said, don't change your team name Don't change your team name.
That is.
You
You might be right. You might be onto something.
It's one of those things that piss off the fantasy god. And actually Zach changed his team name too to Jinxes Aren't Real. It's a thing. You don't change your team name mid-season. Whatever. I mean, I did it, and I didn't make the playoffs. So bad things happen when you change your team name mid-season. You just don't.
I changed my team name mid-season.
So I think
Brad Wynn confirmed.
Jason needs some credit because he also is the only other person in this league who understands how to use GIFs as their icon.
I had a GIF as mine.
Yeah, but yours is too big and it doesn't show on the mobile app because you didn't downsize it like I told you to.
Oh well. Meh.
Go ahead, do your nasally voice like I know you want to.
Nah. I'm not in any position to bark anymore. I'm out. I've been out.
I think I have to go Zach on this. I don't like ever rooting for Zach, but the same reason I thought Jason would win last week, I think he's going to lose this week. There's just a lot of question marks on his bench, on his roster. He's got to pull DeVito. Who does he put in there? Jordan Addison is even going to go. Austin Eckler hasn't been doing much because he has no one to throw the ball to him anymore.
Yeah.
I
just like CD and AJ Brown enough, and I don't know who that guy will be on Zach's roster this week. With Cooper's not going to repeat; he's going against the Jets, and
so Jefferson's going to have a big game because Addison's questionable and Hawkinson's out. So Jefferson's they're going to force feed Jefferson. Now that being said, Nick Mullins is the worst quarterback.
Exactly, Nick Mullins is throwing to him though, so it's like.
But that's been true, and he's
Brad. Who do you hate more, Nick Mullins or Zach?
I hate Nick Mullins' face. I hate Zach as a fantasy owner. I hate Nick Mullins' face. He's always and then he throws a pick, and you can see 7 coaches just trying to spoon feed him information. This is cover 2. Don't throw that ball. He's just it's he can't process the information. It's painful to watch.
I don't think Nick Mullins is going to be sending you any signed gear if he watches this podcast.
I mean, that being said, the rookie veteran minimums are still more than I make. So congrats, Nick Mullins.
So Scotty's got Jason Smith. Brad's got Zach. Interesting that you both picked your opponent from last week to win the third place game. And really? Another interesting tidbit. Zach has won both the previous matchups of these two, weeks 5 and 14. Week 5 being a nail biter, he won by less than 2 points.
That is something I wanted to bring up. I was 3-0 against Jason this season. Just had to slide that in there.
Twisting the knife. I love it, Scotty. I love Shade Scotty. I love it.
We're gonna get to Shade Scotty.
Well, yeah, very soon because after I make my prediction, all that's left is the championship prediction. No, I do see these teams are in the semifinals for a reason. All 4 of the teams that are in the semifinals are top 5 in the league, clearly. I think the only one that missed the semis is probably, if I'd had to make a top 5, would be McMillan. It could go either way. I actually think the biggest wild card here is what they do on the waiver wire. I truly do think that who gets what quarterback and you're rolling the dice. Honestly, it's a crapshoot. Having had Bryce Young before, do you trust Bryce Young after he puts up 22 last week? Probably not still because he's so inconsistent. Do you trust Mason Rudolph? Do you take a flyer on one of these other guys like a Bailey Zappi? I would probably go Rudolph or Young, but I would definitely... Honestly, I'd be tempted if one of them has Aaron Jones. I think it's Zach. I'd be tempted to just start Aaron Jones at Superflex.
Yeah.
And say that's a high floor. Just do that and lock it.
I would have done it last week.
And then for Jason Smith, it's all about CJ Stroud if he comes back. If he doesn't,
he is. I think he's probably going to play this week.
Maybe you grab a quarterback. You grab. I mean, who does? Here's the question, I guess. One last just thing to consider. Of the two, I'd say the best options you have at quarterback are Young and, I would say Young and Mason Rudolph. But there's Tyrod Taylor against the Rams. Jacoby Brissett against. Actually, Jacoby Brissett would be fine, but he's against the 49ers, so no. So yeah, Easton Stick against the Broncos. Jacoby Brissett against the 49ers, Tyrod Taylor against the Rams, Mason Rudolph against the Seahawks, Aiden O'Connell against the Colts, Heineke against the Falcons, Zappy against the Bills.
People?
This is reading like that Browns jersey, with all the list of quarterbacks that played for the Browns in the last 15 years.
The Jags. That's who you've got available, and I think honestly, you're rolling the dice with anybody on that lineup. So pick your favorite, and I think whoever wins the Superflex wins the matchup. But if I have to pick one of them, I've said from the jump, Jason Smith's team, in my view, is just objectively elite. I think he has the higher floor than Zach.
Okay, I don't think Jason's.
He is. Right. I'm sorry.
He has the higher floor than Zach after he just established his floor of 88.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that point, but
I think okay. So floor is obviously relative. But there's floor and then there's base.
Words mean, Sean?
Right? No. I'm serious. I understand the point. Your floor is your lowest score, yes. But I think maybe you're right. Maybe the better way to say this is I think Jason has a consistently higher point production than Zach.
I think Jason has a higher ceiling, which is why I picked Jason. I think Zach actually has a higher floor.
I don't think we've seen. I mean, let me actually. I don't want to go through every week, but it will be something maybe if anyone wants to do a homework assignment after the podcast, look through their matchups and see who's had the lowest matchup. What is the both of their true floors?
It's hard to do that for Jason because he's made so many trades and his team has been so different. He had some terrible weeks at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So. Fair enough. That's true. I guess you have to consider after the trades for Jason, but
yeah.
I'm just saying for Zach, he has to have had a couple really bad weeks, especially when Justin Jefferson was injured.
Yeah.
And I don't he has Jefferson, he has Kelsey. Cooper obviously had himself a day. Derrick Henry somehow is an RB6, but for the life of me, I don't know how. Just watching him play week in, week out.
I don't know. He got a passing touchdown.
Running backs, there's it's McCaffrey, and then everyone else is just
yeah. But I'm gonna go Jason Smith, and that leaves us with one last matchup to discuss here on the JC Penny podcast. The championship of season 15. The 1 seed versus the 3 seed. Volcano Power versus Not a Cheetah. I am assuming that neither of you are going to come on this show and predict the other person to win a championship. So rather than do that, I want you to state your case. I want you to make your pitch as to why you are going to mollywop your opponent this week. Tell me why I should believe in you. Make your arguments to me, and I will tell you who I think is correct.
All right, Brad, you can go first.
Give me one sec. I got to pull it up in the other...
And I'll just give some prologue while you both are pulling this up. You've only played once this year. It was about an 18-ish point win for Scotty. Where the projection, ironically, is 15 points right now in favor of Brad. Not sure if this is the way the lineups are going to stand. Not sure why Taysom Hill is still in your lineup.
Because I don't have another tight end on my roster, Sean.
So there are things that are happening, but that's kind of the backdrop for all this. As far as the Q watch, obviously Brock Purdy is the big Q for Brad. Otherwise, it's just Zay Jones, who's probably not starting anyway. Meanwhile, for Scotty, you've got to love Tyreek, no Q. Your starting lineup as of last week is healthy, but obviously you also had Josh Jacobs out.
It's
last
Jacobs
week.
that I'm
Keenan
really watching.
Keenan Allen out. Like Josh Jacobs and Keenan Allen presumably maybe starting in your lineup.
I don't know about Allen. I don't think I
You
just
don't trust
wanna,
Easton Stick?
I don't trust Stick. And I think Denver's defense is better than it was at the start of the year. So their matchup
couldn't get much worse after we dropped 70 on them.
Yeah, their matchup.
It's hard to
like
be
ratings.
top 10 at that after that. Like
Yeah.
that simply doesn't go away. Like they can never be a top 5D.
Yeah, their
So
matchup ratings are just hard to predict, really. But
that is the historical backdrop and the kind of the injury watch for this game. Brad, you are the lower seed. Give me your case for why this is the year you're winning. You're going from TPOP to title. Our reigning TPOP is already getting rid of the trophy and earning the one he wants. Tell me why.
So number one thing is I've been drinking out of that Waffle House mug every Sunday for good luck since the playoffs started. Once I was no longer the reigning T-Pop. So that's been giving me good luck as opposed to changing my team name like some of you guys. You guys got to watch more hockey. It's all about the superstitions.
Yeah.
I think my team. Ceilings are irrelevant, but one thing I really like about my team is I have a pretty high floor, and I have people I can plug in if need be. Jerome Ford is like the RB20, and I played him like twice because I have plenty of other running backs. Purdy was obviously a huge addition. We'll see if he even plays this week. We'll see what his confidence level is. Obviously, that's a good matchup if he does play and he's healthy, but I've got plenty of people I can plug in there if need be. Rotating or revolving door of tight ends, but you can only do so many points at tight end. I've been sitting on the Jets D all season because they have such a strong they have such a good schedule for the fantasy playoffs. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I think Scotty's got some cues, both in terms of injuries and just the performance he's had the last couple of weeks. So I floated a little graphic to Sean that if he would play for the folks at home.
I have the one right now with your Scotty Optimum Week 15, Zach Optimum Week 15.
So Jason Smith put us onto this website where you can import your fantasy league, and it'll do a couple of interesting statistical calculations, one of which is it randomizes all of the schedules, and it says who you would have beaten every single week, and it gives us this thing called total schedule to get a sense of how consistently well a team is performing. There is one little glitch in it in that it doesn't know how to handle bye weeks for the playoffs. So it kind of shifted some stuff over for Zach and Scotty. So I had to go in and do some calculations. You guys are welcome to check my work if you don't trust it. But I decided to be nice, and I gave you and Zach your optimal possible lineups for week one, just to finish all the calculations out. Zach, that required a lot of switching that I think is being really generous. Scotty is more cut and dry because you were really hampered by injuries that week, so your lineup was pretty clear.
Can I ask a question just really quick? Are these the optimal lineups for everybody week 15? Or
for
just those
two? So week 15 was round one of the playoffs. So it's everyone's starting lineup, and then just them. Because I'm trying to be nice, because I don't want Scotty to come on here and be like, Brad's cooking the books. So everyone else had what they actually thought would happen. I gave Scotty and Zach their best possible lineups, and I even took it a step further for Scotty because he did not have enough wide receivers healthy enough to play to do this out the lineup. So I did some research, and the highest scoring wide receiver available who's not on IR was, I think it was DJ Shark, who's averaging 7.5 points a game. So I even gave him that value. I gave him 7.5 if he picked up the number one possible available wide receiver and they had an average week. That being said, DJ Shark got 3 points. So even this is being generous. Scotty is limping through these playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. He went 3-6 both of the last 2 weeks. He deserves the bye. He deserves the easy matchup against Jason, who broke my heart and couldn't get it done and give me the NoVa Bowl that I wanted for Christmas.
Thank God, by the way.
Scotty earned.
You mean the insufferable?
The insufferable.
Oh my God, you guys don't even want. We were gonna get T-shirts made. It was gonna be bad. I was gonna.
I don't care if you win now, Brad. I'm just glad that didn't happen.
And then they wonder why I'm rooting against them. It's like...
But anyway.
No, sorry to derail you.
I have no qualms with Scotty being here. Scotty had a dominant regular season. He earned his bye. He earned his easiest remaining opponent to get to the final. But now it's time to put up or shut up. And I mean, if we look at the new total record, who is clearly Sean's favorite word, objectively the best team in the league, who is hot, who is cold, I think the numbers speak for themselves. Also, I've got an emoji in my team name. So, like, how can you beat that?
I mean, a couple counterpoints. One, Jason Smith had an emoji on his team name. 3 of them, in fact.
Yeah, because I taught him how to do it. Because Jason Smith and I actually make each other better, whereas you just want to knock us down, Sean.
I don't. And actually, I do want to say I really appreciated this because I didn't know something about this that would have been great. Not that I obviously did not make the playoffs. But
yeah,
one of the things
go ahead. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. One of the things we learned this season when looking at this earlier this year was we had our potential for it didn't happen, but we could have had our first ever decimal tie if James had played Zach in week 5. As you can see, the 2-6-1 record right there, indicating the 2 of them had tied in week 5. Had McMillan and I played in week 15, it appears we would have had our second decimal tie. So decimal ties can happen, folks. They're out there.
That's the only, it's on the bucket list of things that I want.
Yeah.
Oh, I want it so
we need
bad.
A decimal tie. If we can go in the playoffs, because there's no tiebreaker. The higher seed wins.
It would be so great.
On a 100-point decimal tie.
Gotta get that high seed.
I would have lost on a tie in the season 1 championship, but thank God for recalcs. Okay, so Brad, you make a compelling case with that. Did you want to show your second slide?
Wait, no. Did I make another slide? Oh, you mean the one before I edited it?
The one before you edited it?
No. I just, this is just me showing my work. I don't want you guys to think I just made up all these numbers. No, this is the one that matters. Specifically that 9-0, 9-0 versus 3-6 and 3-6 for Scotty. So, anything can happen. Scotty has shown the ability to put up lots of points. But I'm hot at the right time, and Scotty is limping his way through December. So,
Scotty, yeah, I mean, I can't refute that. I am really struggling right now. I got a lot of injuries. Yeah, it's a tough time over here. I appreciate this graphic, Brad. I think it really illustrates some things that we did already know. My team is struggling over the last couple of weeks.
Scotty, you're not helping my case.
Had a lot of injuries. And really, I don't think I'm going to win this week. Just going to say
Scotty, come on.
Wow.
I don't think I'm going to win.
Wow. He's trying to GG me 3 days before the week starts on international.
I don't think in fact, there might not be a way I can win this week. But if there was a way I can win this week.
This is the dirtiest thing anyone's ever done in this league.
But if there was a way I could win this week, here's how. My players have decent matchups this week. I have no red matchups as they're shown on ESPN. All positive matchups. So that is a good thing. I have a lot of solid matchups. The only guy who I think has a bad matchup is Tyreek Hill against the Ravens, which is not the guy you want to have the bad matchup, but he's the one guy who's a little bit more matchup. Is
it a bad matchup? Is their secondary really that good?
The Ravens are
they made the 49ers look stupid last night, so.
Okay, yeah. But that doesn't. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, don't be a homer, Sean. The Ravens are a bad matchup defensively for anybody.
I get their offense. Their defense is always banged up, and I feel like their cornerbacks are overrated.
I don't know. They just seem to make it happen. I don't know. I've been watching their games, but anyways, yeah, it's gonna be tough. I think if Jacobs can play against Indianapolis, I will probably put him in place of somebody. I'm still kind of thinking it through. It's kind of funny that Brad has the Jets defense. I have the Browns defense. They're playing each other, so we're both hoping.
Again? That happened to me last week.
It's beautiful because I love that game will be you'll get to see both defenses in the championship playing against each other. That'll be a great game to watch.
And that's a Thursday nighter. So
so great.
It's gonna be low scoring because of Thursday nighter. So like I don't know. It's gonna come down to turnovers and defensive points, and I don't know. Flacco's been doing well for the Browns though, so we'll see how that goes. But
one interesting thing is, there's usually no Monday night games the last week of the season, but apparently there's no Monday night game this week, and they moved it to Saturday. So the last game is actually going to be Sunday night, which I believe is the Vikings and someone else. So I'm curious as to whether or not you will play Jordan Addison if he plays, so we will know Sunday afternoon versus Sunday evening.
Yeah, do you have anyone in that Sunday night game?
I don't think so. I looked very quickly, and obviously there's still the opportunity for us.
You have Tucker Kraft if you want to start him at tight end.
I have been going back and forth with those two. I don't know. But it would be great.
But you have
New Year's
Saturday
watching our phones instead of hanging out with friends and family, not family.
Yeah, I will be in Pennsylvania, which is why I'm doing the podcast tonight. But I will be absolutely in the chat, in there like swimwear, ready to discuss and banter with both of you. And I hope the rest of the league will be as well. So Scotty didn't nut up and predict himself. Brad did. So
can you make the case for Scotty, please? Because that was
don't make the case for me. I don't need any.
Scotty doesn't. What Scotty's doing here is he's being humble. He doesn't want to jinx it.
I don't need any cases.
That's why you guys need to stop rooting for Scotty. Because he came into this league.
Brad.
Okay, go ahead.
I got you.
No.
Scotty.
Filibuster.
Scotty is the prince who was promised.
Oh my god.
Scotty is the only one who could stop the NoVa insurrection. He is the only one.
It's an insurrection now?
He's the only one.
The South will rise again.
He is the only one who was able to prevent the insufferable from coming to pass. And I was like Doctor Strange, and I saw the one universe where we don't have a NoVa champion, and it runs through Scotty. Scotty was destined to be in this league to prevent this horrible fate from coming to pass, and here is why. Scotty has the two in this entire matchup. If you're saying who has the highest ceiling of any player on either roster, even though Brad absolutely is the hottest team in the league right now throughout the playoffs, no dispute there. It is objectively accurate, as he knows I like to say. But subjectively, if you're asking me who I think has the highest ceiling on any of these rosters, the number one answer is Tyreek Hill. The number two answer is Lamar Jackson. It all runs, and Josh Allen's right up there with Lamar. To be clear, there's not a huge.
I would put Allen over Lamar.
It's more of an to me. It's more of an A versus B given the. I'm a huge fan of like mobile quarterbacks, as evidenced by drafting Justin Fields, and look where that got me. But
didn't you just say Lamar Allen's overrated or Lamar Jackson's overrated like 5 seconds ago?
No.
I said
Baltimore's secondary is overrated.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
So I think, and by the way, let me be clear. I think Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, it's more like a 1A, 1B, like an A-B kind of situation. They're both in the same tier, obviously. But I just look at Tyreek Hill and Lamar Jackson as two guys with monster upside. I think Josh Allen has that upside too for Brad. But I think Brad has, like, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, a Sun God, Olave, can throw up, Rachaad White, can all throw up 20 points. And if even 3 or 4 of those guys are putting up 20s, Brad's got the game. It comes down to the home run hitters for Scott. If he's going to win this title, Tyreek Hill's got to put up 25. Or
I need a bunch of guys to like go off because I'm going to have some people hit floors. And the funny thing is about my team is I was winning a lot of games because my team was really consistent all year. I rarely scored below 130. I didn't score above 150 very often, but I just consistently scored a good amount, and I just kept winning.
But I will say this: if Josh Jacobs plays, I assume it'll be either Zeke or Javonte Williams who's out. Scotty will pick. But if Josh Jacobs plays, his team gets better. If Keenan Allen plays, it's a dice roll. It's a question mark of what you do there. But either way, he's got enough wide receiver talent to counter Brad's strongest punch. Which
I don't think I'd
his
start
skill
Allen
position
even if he was healthy, because I like my other receivers enough to not start him.
And the other thing is, Brock Purdy is a question mark for Brad, because you're not, even if you start any of your other guys that you could start. Yeah, let's say you start Jerome Ford. That's fine. His average is essentially 10 points less than Brock Purdy. So you are taking a hit there to your scoring that if Kyler Murray has a game, we're talking, which he absolutely is capable of doing even against Philly's defense.
Well, Philly's terrible against mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's a path for Scotty here, and in my view, it runs through his home run hitters. So I believe in Scotty Dent. I believe in Scott.
I wish you hadn't said all that, Sean, but appreciate the support.
Scott, you gotta believe. It's like Parappa the Rapper said, you gotta believe.
I always thought this was going to be much closer than this scoreline or Scotty's brain thinks it's going to be. I know Scotty hasn't set his lineup. I just put my maximum projections in just for prognostication.
My lineup is as set as it's going to get before pickups.
Jesus
before
Christ,
waiver
Scotty,
wire.
I'm trying, man.
I'm not. There's not much change in here, except unless I put in Jacobs.
It doesn't matter. Scotty's got a very good team. He is absolutely deserving of being in the finals. And the other thing I'll say is, I think there's a lot more pressure on me than there is for Scotty. Scotty's playing with house money. Man.
Yeah, I am.
He's in the final his first season. He's net positive. He's getting his buy-in back plus some.
Yep, I'm paid for next year, baby.
He his way into my heart by agreeing to partially chop to get us a nice league trophy, which I think is going to get him karma points, which is why Zach lost, because he didn't want to do it.
Yep.
Let me just say, as someone who has been in the finals 3 of the last 4 years and has been trying to get a finals, and I was going to put all of my money towards that trophy. I really appreciate that you guys are at least putting some of that money. And like I said, as you know, I said in good faith, I will be happy to chip in as well to make sure we have a proper trophy that wasn't bought. That trophy, to Jerry's credit, he spent the prize monies we had back then. I think it was back then maybe like $100 or something like that. It was we were doing like $10 buy-ins to start, and he put his prize winnings towards that tropy.
Yeah, no, I think it was a very appropriate trophy for the time
trophy
all this being
for college kids. Yeah,
right. Time to upgrade.
Yeah.
But
we're all in our 30s now. We got to get a better trophy.
Yeah.
But I will try to keep.
Trophy.
I do want to keep some part of it. Like, I want to see if we can't recycle some part of the original trophy into the new one, like whether it's the name, the league placard or something, just to give it that history, But anyway.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So Scotty, this season's a win. I don't think I'm as mad about you being here as I was about Alex, because if I remember, Alex was a 6th seed. He had a mid team. I actually had a good team that year, if I remember correctly, and he just steamrolled through the playoffs. That might have been the Jamar Chase year. I can't remember who he had, but he had somebody who just carried him, and I hated that. That was his first season. Sean likes to say he's also a rookie champion. There's an asterisk. The first year of the league. I don't know if you can call yourself a rookie champion, but Scotty is absolutely worthy to be here. And if he loses, it's no harm, no foul. If I lose, I'm emotionally dead, because I've been talking so much shit. This rivalry that I've been stirring up, I know there's a lot of negative energy at me. I am the Night King right now, who just tore down the wall and is making his last stand at Winterfell.
And I'm Jon Snow, who just got.
I see myself being last place next season, because it's going to be such a hangover. So I need this, which is why, if karma's anything, I'm not going to win.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why you're not going to win, because I needed it, and it didn't happen.
Sean, this isn't about you.
It is. It's always about
you,
me.
Sean.
No, but I get the feeling. I do agree with everything Brad just said. I think Scotty is playing, like you said, Scotty's already well exceeded his expectations, has earned his place in this league.
Yeah, my goal coming in this year was to make the playoffs. I was like, I just want to make the playoffs, and then I'll be fine. So I'm golden.
You set the bar very high, though. Next season, Scotty, if you fall apart, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I gotta make now. I have to make the playoffs like every year. So
yeah. So, all right, guys, that's our podcast. That is our season finale. Maybe we'll do some kind of wrap-up content if we have time or if we can get something together. I've always wanted to have some kind of like I did a wrap-up, I think, the first season of the podcast. And I always want to do like some kind of like an award ceremony or a trophy presentation, get something out there, get more content. But I really appreciate everybody. First of all, I want to say Brad and Scotty, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been like a couple years now where we've had the champions on the season finale. I've tried to like a year, a couple years past to try to get some banter during championship week. So I appreciate both of you being here and preparing and doing this justice. I appreciate every single one of you for everything you've done to make this season so engaging. 11 episodes this season on the pod. The production quality keeps going up, including this sweet movie poster. And next season, as I've said, I think several times lately, we're going to hit 50 episodes on this podcast, which is no easy feat. So that's a testament to you, Sean. You do a great job running this league, and it makes it really fun. So thank you. Stop. I love this league. I love each and every one of you guys. I am so excited to see what Jerry chooses as far as the Waffle House or the SAT. And I'm
Jerry might just go off the grid. Like
Jerry's gonna go to Hawaii and never see us again.
But most of all, I'm excited to see which one of you two will be crowned champion, and I'm excited to see that new trophy in either Frederick or Nova, depending upon who wins this week. So good luck on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday to both of you. Good luck to Jason Smith and to Zach also to try to get your buy-in back. And good luck on the waiver wire with those quarterbacks that you both very desperately need. I don't. I need a tight end. But yeah. So that's our show. Thanks so much for watching. See you next season. All right.